Hello. I wanted to make this as a test for something. Uh, I want to just make one episode and see how well it does. I haven't gotten this idea. I just wanted to just play Minecraft and talk about my life. Um, I won't do anything too crazy. We're just gonna do a normal world with. Let me turn on some things that I would want on. I'll do. I'll do these ones. That's it. By no means, I don't know who to give credit for this idea. I've seen a couple of these on TikTok and YouTube and all that. But I simply just wanted to try something out for myself, see how well it would turn out. If you don't know who I am, uh, my name is Jackson, also known as Call Me Blazewell, if you are coming from TikTok. Um, I simply wanted to do this just to see, uh, just to talk about things. Um, Unfortunately, um, I've had a therapist the past couple of years, ever since I went to a new high school, and unfortunately, she is leaving, and I will be getting a new one in the next year or a couple months or so. But I also, by the time she is leaving, because she is a school therapist, um, I will be also leaving because I will be graduating early from the school. But nonetheless, I just wanted to test this out, see how it would work. I don't know how well this is going to do in any case, but um, I simply just wanted to talk about myself and my life. So, mainly starting off, my name's Jackson. I turned 18 about 4 months ago. I'm pretty sure. It's January, February. Yeah. Or January, November. Anyway. Uh, I grew up in the main central part of Minnesota, and I have spent most of my time there. I'm still here now. I've moved a few times throughout the cities, but I've mainly been in the rural state. Um, I've really never done much exciting with my life, as depressing as it sounds. I've never really been out with friends or people. Uh, as I was growing up, I had a neighbor. Um, I won't get into his name, but his name, or I won't say his name. Uh, that was one of the main few friendships I remember having. Uh, we played a lot of Skylanders because at the time it was really popular, and Minecraft as well. Um, it was it was something weird. It was during the earliest of my elementary school, but it was one of the one true friends I had. I haven't interacted with him since. In fact, I don't have any ways of interacting with him, but most of my problems, anyways, started off in middle school. I didn't really have a lot of friends from elementary. In fact, most of my problems came from late elementary school. I struggled having friends, and I mainly wanted to just find a way to get people to like me. So I used to I referred to myself as gay at the time, just to see if people would notice me, or at least just take into fact that I was there. And I guess you could say it could work. It did work at the time for a bit, but in the end, it didn't feel good to me. So after a while, I kind of stopped acting on upon it, and anytime people brought up to me, I'd question where they got that information from. But I was silly at the time, and I didn't think about it much. I, apart from that, I had one small group of friends in middle school I originally knew from elementary school, but after a while they became very distant and rude to me, and I ended up sitting most of my time during lunches, uh, during during lunches in the library, and it was definitely something at the time. I'm gonna turn down the music a little bit. Apologies. At the time, though, it was very it was very depressing, of course. But I remember my teacher, um, my English teacher at the time. He came up to me randomly, and he was like, "Hey, I during lunch I watch movies in my room, and I was of course I was interested. I ended up going, and he would watch Studio Ghibli movies, and that's where I remember at the time my sister was also really interested in that stuff, my older sister, um, and so I did it, and for a while I liked it. It definitely felt a form of comfort at the time. Um, I was very secluded of myself. I didn't really know what to think. I was so busy with being alone that I wasn't really doing well in middle school. And then of course COVID happened, and that didn't really help with things. I did poorly in school, but I imagine a lot of people did. Um, but for the most part, after I came back, it was more hard to just make friends, especially from everyone I knew. They didn't really remember me, and it hurt. And for the most part, I I would spend sometimes writing notes to myself in the theater rooms of schools, uh, to understand what I was trying to tell myself sometimes. And I would do that, and I would write into the notes app about what I was experiencing with myself. And I wouldn't know what to call it at the time. It wouldn't be healthy, I guess you could say. It was it was almost like a form of destruction. I would almost form myself to think that these times were horrible, and for the most part, it did feel like that. Even now, I could see it myself. But afterwards, I had some problems with. There was big events at school, and at the time, I just couldn't really deal with it. So I did have one suicide attempt in middle school. I remember that. It didn't work well. But at the time, I kept it to myself for a very long time. Um, but afterwards, I was moved from the middle school, and I moved completely to a new part of the city. So I was completely out of that district in the schooling. And then I appeared in a more rural, or like a farm-esque area in Minnesota. It's a lot more nicer, but I wasn't used to it. And not only that, I was going into high school with that set of stuff. So it didn't really help me at the time. I sorry, I'm trying to think. As time went, though, I was not used to my surroundings at all. I would have panic attacks in the bathroom every single day at that school. It was almost like a routine I had to do. I was so used to it, and it was it was almost just deafening. Because I mean, I could have told my parents, but they wouldn't understand, and so then I had a few more attempts by the time, and then I met a woman, which I won't say her name. But at the time, we've made up to make this reassurance. We've made up as people. We've both grown. But at the time, I was desperate for people. I didn't have a lot of friends, and it was it was almost difficult to to know people because you know how do you get to know people when you've never known people? I had horrible social skills. I I spent a lot of my time keeping to myself. I grew accustomed to headphones. I mean, even now I wear them every day, just to isolate myself, I feel. And I don't know why, but it just feels right to me to do so. But at the time, though, we finally became close friends, and we became even closer friends, and it was very nice at the time. I never got to experience such a feeling before of people truly caring for you. It was it was almost poetic. It felt it was emotionally, because I had friends before, but some would just leave, and I felt like I was being used, and I didn't know how to think of that at the time because in some ways I always felt it was like my fault of doing so. If they are leaving me, I am doing something wrong, and I never liked that feeling because often I would feel that I wanted to have a reason of why they were leaving so I could do better as myself, and maybe sometimes there was, but they never told me, and I couldn't go on with it. So I I would just ponder myself of how do I make other people happy, because most of the time that's how I felt would make myself happy. If I As long as I were there for other people, that's all I could do as a person, as a sort of just as like a someone to talk to, and that's all it felt like I was to people. But as time went with the friend, I uh, I began to realize that the it wasn't well. I she began to start distancing herself, and I was almost traumatized by that feeling of people walking away, and I didn't like that feeling, and so I basically I feel as of now I feel I blew up against that, and I took it out of proportion because for once I finally felt like I wasn't alone, and all of a sudden I'm now feeling like they're leaving me again, and I was getting really sick of that feeling. So, but to simply put it, I didn't want to feel that pain anymore, and it was during the summer at the time that I learned about like just the she I mean it was during the school time she was distancing herself, and that summer before it was after my freshman year. I or she completely almost muted herself from me, and I didn't know what to do. And after talking a couple weeks before the school after that summer, it almost like a reconnection. It made me feel happy again. But then as I got she admitted that she was always really busy at the time, and she never got kind of talk or hang out, and it felt good. So we finally went back to school, and I later learned that it almost felt like a lie. Like she never really truly meant she was gone, and it hurt because I didn't know what to do at the time, and then I committed a very bad attempt on my life, and luckily at the time, this was during the time of my account being up, and I had a Discord server, and I ended up babbling on to the people in it, and um, luckily they got a hold of some personal people in my life and my father, and I was taken to the hospital. And I was there for the night. Um, I spent the night there, and later that very late into the night, probably 2 or so, I went into inpatient, and it was something interesting. I went to food therapy when I was younger, but there was nothing I could describe inpatient with. It almost felt like I wasn't supposed to be there because I I don't want to say that I was, better than people, but it just didn't feel right to me. Like I wasn't, you know, I did this out of the urge of my own feelings. I wasn't, I didn't have an abusive household, and no offense to any other people, but I all I wanted to do was not be alone anymore, and that was just my breaking point. So I inpatient I feel was good for me though. I got to connect with people for a tiny bit. The guy I knew, let me talk about the first night I was there. I was utterly terrified when I walked in. It was, of course, late at night, so no one was around at all besides these 2 guards that took me in, and they had to pat me down, and of course, and I was put into I was given temporary clothing. Actually, I was given scrubs, and then I was laid in my room, and I didn't know what to do. I'm pretty sure I cried myself to sleep that night because that was the only way I think I could have slept. But it was interesting. But later in the morning though, I was very scared to get out of the room. People were free to leave the rooms, but I could not go. People got up to me, or some of the staff people talked to me, and it was reassuring, but I didn't want to say anything. But I was one of the few people that got up very early. The people there I knew didn't have it as good, which I feel unfortunate to them. But luckily, as of now, I feel, because this was probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, they're all out. But there was people in there since, because I went in there in September. There was people there since July, and I didn't know what to feel. But I was in there for, I think, less than a week. I think I was in there for 5 days. And then I came home, and there wasn't time for school. So I spent the first week at my house just recalibrating. And then I went to a day program at the local, actually the same hospital that has the inpatient. And I spent maybe a month there, and it was mainly just there to just teach you sets of skills to better cope with yourself. And it was interesting. Personally, I don't feel I used all the skills to my advantage, but it was definitely a breath taker. And as of now, I still have all the notes and the papers and goodbye letters I've gotten from people there, and it was nice. And then I was gonna go to an ALC in my area, but then of course it was full, so I had to go to a sort of out of city one. And then I ended up there, and I've been there for 3 years now, and I've gotten to know the people, and it's been a wonderful experience. And I think that it's a scenario where it's an ALC, that the one I was at, it's a drug free. It's very fitted for people who had struggling lives, and sometimes I feel like I don't deserve it because I don't know. I feel like I never would have really fit in. I I feel like it wasn't fair for other people. I feel like my trauma wasn't as bad as other people's trauma. If that makes any sense. And I guess that's a really bad way to put it. And now it looks bad on myself, but it just didn't feel bad. It didn't feel fair for people. I I spent a lot of my life, you know, just being alone, and these people had real problems, and like dealing with life, and I don't have a throw button, I guess. Um, I, it felt like it wasn't fair to other people. And even now it doesn't. I, I feel like I just basically cheated my way through my education, at least my lay education, where I was in a place where, but I was in a place where I could finally feel myself, but in some ways I feel like it downplays other people's problems, because all I felt was being alone, and if that's all I need to succeed myself with, not being alone, then then I could have just gone back to my other school. But it's been nice there. I've known some people, and I've gotten to better figure out myself, and it's been nice. But as I'm going out, I definitely won't forget my original high school, and better less the friends I made. But as for the continuation of this idea, depending on how well it gets, depending on how well it does. I've already been stuttering and freezing a lot. I've noticed myself, but I mainly just want to use this to talk about myself. But yeah. As for more talking, I don't really have any other ideas. I would say my career. I guess not my career, but my account. I started doing Call Me Blaze back in maybe late 2022 or somewhere around then. I mainly started doing it because it was an easy way to cope with myself. I sorry. I mainly just wanted to make sure that I could keep myself sane. So I figured, I've seen a bunch of people doing video edits already. I might do my own. And at the time, the videos that I saw weren't, they were pretty much well made. I wanted to just do my own twist on it and see how it did. And in fact, I never actually started with video editing. I originally did like these slideshows of depressing photos, and I don't really want to talk about it that much because at the time it felt low effort. Now that I look back on it, it was more just raw emotion of sadness, and it didn't feel true. It didn't feel like I was putting a meaning into it. So then I started doing video editing, and that's when I started truly feeling like my skills were being used. Because video editing, I wanted to provoke a feeling out of it. I wanted to start off with. At first, I was adding the photos still, and I didn't feel that was right. It didn't feel good. And as time grew, my better understanding of the app led me to creating more and doing more stuff with it. And now I have 10,000 followers. Um, I didn't think I would get this big um, in viewership. I mainly wanted to start off by doing videos as a form of like art, as you can call it whatever. But I I wanted to provoke some sort of feeling for people whenever they watched it, because I mainly did it for myself. But then I noticed, and I'd get a lot of direct messages um, about people saying that they really take my stuff to heart, and I'm glad. And people take comfort in watching it, and that's mainly why I continue, so I can continue to help people, which is what I've been wanting to do my whole life, basically. Um, so I, it's basically a win-win. I get to make myself feel good, and I get to help others. Um, but as for that, um, I didn't do much with my time. I've basically been spent doing video editing for the longest side. It's basically been my main hobby apart from playing video games. Um, but yeah, I don't think I'll edit these for how much I'm stuttering and freezing up. I feel like it'd be better if I were to just leave it as it is. But I think I'll leave it here for now. So thank you for watching. If you've been watching since the end, uh, I appreciate it. And I don't know how consistent I will be on these uploads, but um, I'll try to make another one if it does well. So thank you.